You ever watch a movie that makes you think, wow, that really felt like it was created by an AI algorithm? A good example would be a movie like The Rock's Red 1, or something like the recent Super Smash Bros. Movies. These are movies devoid of any unique creative voice or any risk, that simply exist because some studio exec looked at the sales of Nintendo games and thought, yeah, the kids will really want this one. And as much as we hate to admit it, that algorithmic approach to filmmaking often works, at least financially. If you're deeply entrenched enough into filmmaking culture to be watching this review, then you probably know that the two words chicken jockey famously made the rounds in 2015 from the viral, hugely successful Minecraft movie. A prime example of an algorithmic made movie with very little artistic value, yet grossed an obscene amount of money at the box office. Right beside a Minecraft movie and Red 1 is exactly where the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie belongs. A movie that is devoid of any substance, any unique creative voice, that solely exists because some exec looked at the numbers, saw that the Mandalorian TV show is charting very high on Disney Plus, and thought, yeah, this is a pretty safe bet for the next Star Wars movie. That same exec probably also looked at the data on how many people tweeted about Baby Yoda in the past year and thought, well, why not make a Mandalorian and Baby Yoda movie? It's genius. But while the producers of Minecraft and the Super Mario movies dance to the tune of billions of dollars, this new Mandalorian movie is looking to be nowhere near as successful. In fact, predictions are pinning this to be the second Star Wars flop in history alongside Solo: A Star Wars Story, which is a perfect representation of what the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is. A movie that exists as a reminder of the limitations of this algorithmic approach to filmmaking. In a sense, I'm glad that such a boring, dull, forgettable movie exists, because it reminds us why ultimately art and commerce are not one and the same. Because while an algorithm can look at numbers and tell you that The Mandalorian is a very highly rated series on Disney Plus, they can't read a room and tell you the temperature of the environment in the moment. Yes, in a vacuum, Mandalorian and Grogu is not a bad move. The Mandalorian is a highly successful show, Pedro Pascal is a hot name right now, so I mean it makes sense, right? Except it doesn't. Because while The Mandalorian might be the right movie, it's the wrong movie for this moment. To delve into why, we have to look at the larger context of where Star Wars is right now. Star Wars movies used to be an event. It was to the point where you truly, with no exaggeration, get a new Star Wars trilogy every few decades. When The Phantom Menace hit theaters in the early 2000s, it was a global phenomenon unlike anything we'd ever seen before. Until Star Wars The Force Awakens dropped a few decades later, and that was a global phenomenon unlike anything we'd seen before. And then Disney made a fatal mistake. They took Star Wars, a once every generation experience, and turned it into a once in a weekend one. It truly felt like a new Star Wars movie, spin-off TV show, or video game was dropping every weekend. They tried to turn Star Wars into Marvel, and now it's reached a point where every new Star Wars film just feels like another weekend. And the fans want nothing more than for Lucasfilm to capture that feeling of magic that Star Wars once had, where stepping into a Star Wars movie felt like an event. It is within that context that The Mandalorian and Grogu becomes a terrible move for the studio. For a franchise that is suffering because every new installment just doesn't feel special or huge anymore, there is no worse move they could have made than making their next movie, their first movie in 7 years, be what essentially feels like 4 Mandalorian TV show episodes stitched together. No disrespect to TV as a medium, but when you go into the movies, you want to see a movie. When you pay to watch a blockbuster movie on a big screen, you want to watch something that feels grand, special. Yet you leave The Mandalorian and Grogu feeling like you easily could have watched this at home. There is truly, and I mean, nothing about it that will have you believe this was anything other than 4 Mandalorian episodes that Lucasfilm thought to themselves, hey, why not just stitch these together and put them out into cinemas and make big big bang. The visuals are not on par with what you would expect from a blockbuster Star Wars film, but more than that, the plot is little higher in stakes than a Sunday morning cartoon. Audience expectations obviously differ between mediums. If I sit down in the comfort of my couch to watch the Mandalorian TV show, hey, I have no problem with seeing the Mandalorian complete some fetch quests. But when you go into the Mandalorian and Grogu knowing that this is the first theater release for a Star Wars movie in years, you want a little more than the Mandalorian completing a quest here and there. Now, if they use this low stakes story to delve into the character of Mandalorian, well, fair enough. But there is truly no depth to be found here, which results in a movie that is nowhere near as big or as deep as you would want. And 10 years from now, when we look back and ask why Lucasfilm thought the first Star Wars movie in 7 years should be essentially a glorified TV show, end up saying that this right here is what killed Star Wars. So if you enjoy the Mandalorian TV show and go into this thinking, hey, I wouldn't mind spending 2 hours on the big screen with two of my favorite characters, then I truly believe you'll enjoy this film. But if you're seeking any other form of fulfillment out of it, you'll probably be disappointed. If you go into this expecting a large-scale, cinematically satisfying Star Wars movie, you'll probably have a god-awful time. And if you go into this with very little knowledge of the TV show and want to see something that works well as a standalone movie, you'll start eyeing the nearest exit once the opening scene is done. Cause this movie is, in the truest sense, devoid of any value. It is not uniquely memorably bad, but it is so aggressively mediocre to the point of being painfully bored. And if you ask me, that's the worst thing a movie can be, and for that, I'm giving this one a 2 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for weekly TV and movie reviews. And if you've had the chance to watch The Mandalorian and Grogu, let us know what you thought about it in the comments below. I'm Cinemike, and I'll see you next time.